Everyone, welcome back to the Race Curator. First order of business is to admire this video of Lewis Hamilton and Michael Schumacher. This is actually when Lewis was 16 years old in 2001. This is actually quite remarkable and quite surreal. An old lost footage that has found its way online, and it's mesmerizing. It is simply mesmerizing. Yes, Lewis Hamilton and Michael Schumacher had a go-karting race. There was a number of other drivers also in attendance, and I believe this was directly after the race. Quite extraordinary, wouldn't you say? My response to this was, this is before either of them became an individual 7-time world champion. How remarkable. Simply remarkable. It is so real, to say the least. But it's incredible to see. Arguably the two greatest driver of all time. I got to give credit to both of them, regardless of anything else. We're not going to get into it. But respect to them both. Something that we do want to talk about is the first upcoming race of 2025 season. It will be Albert Park, the Australian Grand Prix. I have a strange epiphany. This is similar to what I was thinking last year in 2024 when the news was announced of Lewis joining Ferrari. At the time, I was thinking, you know what? The Ferrari in 2024 was competitive. If Ferrari can make another competitive car in 2025, I expect Lewis to come out on top. My reason being is that if it's competitive with the McLarens, with Ferrari, with Mercedes, with Red Bull, it's going to be pretty difficult for one driver to just dominate. Max Verstappen had that at the start of last year's season. He had the advantage in car, no doubt. He used it to build up a great amount of points and wins. And from there, he just coasted throughout the rest of the season with Lando Norris performing abysmally bad. But my expectations for the Australian Grand Prix. Let's start with qualifying. I fully expect Lewis Hamilton to outqualify Charles Leclerc. I do. I fully expect Lewis Hamilton to outqualify Charles Leclerc. Lewis is a monster at this track in terms of race pace and qualifying time. He's very good at this track. From 2014 to 2019, he took all the pole positions. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And previously in 2012, he took the pole position also. And even before that, in 2008, he took the pole position. Michael Schumacher was 2004 and 2003. Do you see how closely they were to competing with each other? So it's so incredible, isn't it? Now, in the race, not so good, if I'm being completely honest. Lewis was getting pole positions for quite a few years consecutively, but he was unable to win the race. One of the reasons is because of the track layout. The track layout characteristic, it's a wonderful track to drive, and it's beautiful to say the least. But the layout of this track, it is not the best for overtaking. And don't get me wrong, they've tried to improve this. But honestly, I think the only way to improve this is at turn 16 and turn 1. You need to just make this straight longer, twice as long. You need to change this corner 15 to a bank corner. 15 and 16. 14 also needs to be a bit more like the center S's at the Brazilian Grand Prix or at Maggots and Beckett's in Silverstone. And if you can just, if you can have a straight rundown, that would improve overtaking. Another option is to improve turn 19 to turn 12. Get rid of turn 10, turn 11, and just create a straight road. Just a straight road. That could improve overtaking. But usually Lewis either loses this race on the start of the line, like he's in pole position and someone has a better start than him. This happened with Bottas, this happened with Sebastian, or he loses the position in some strategical way. So I'll just clarify, I don't expect Lewis to win the race, but I expect him to outqualify his teammate in Charles Leclerc. I don't even expect Lewis to be on pole position or even second place. I think the McLaren is the favorite right now. And for the first 5 to 10 race, I don't want to get my hopes up. I will get optimistic around race 10 to 15. That's when I'll start believing if we're even in a championship fight. Because it does matter which team will fall off, which team will catch up. Drivers tend to improve, like Lewis, he tends to improve as the season goes on. But I'm curious to know, what do you think about my thoughts? Do you first race for Ferrari, I think Lewis can outqualify his teammate. It won't be easy to do, But Lewis, this car and Lewis seems to like each other. He really seems to like the behavior of this car, and he's an 8-time world champion. So if anyone can do it, he can get the setup of the car in the right window, and yeah, he can make it happen. Do you see what I mean? Just look at this map. From turn 9 to turn 12, just create a straight road, please. Just create a straight bloody road. Too straight and it could be too dangerous. I understand that. But I think this area has some potential to be more overtaken ability, but it just needs to be improved. Here's something really strange that we don't believe we would see in 2025 or any time in this universe. Karun Chandok says, and I quote, "Can I just say what I want to see happen this year? I want to see Lewis win the championship for Ferrari. It would just be amazing for the sport. What an amazing story that would be. Could it happen? Yes, it could." Now, I don't like this guy. Never have, never will. This guy is like many people in F1 that are, pundits or commentators, their loyalties are up for sale. And while that might be a little bit harsh, have you seen Will Buxton talking about Indy cars? Now that he's being paid on that side of the world, he's talking like it's these drivers. They're incredible. This is they Formula One drivers. He's talking as if IndyCar drivers are better than Formula One drivers. Are you out of your mind? Well, like I said, their loyalties are up for sale because that's the job that they do. They get paid to say certain things, do certain things. But in a candid moment, do I believe Karun Chandok? Absolutely not. Don't believe him, don't like him at all.
Can I just say what I want to see happen this year? Yeah. I wonder if it's the same thing that I want to happen. I want to see Lewis win the championship for Ferrari. I was about to say the same. It would just be amazing for the sport. What an amazing story that would be.
It'd be one of the greatest sporting stories ever told, wouldn't it?
Ever. Amazing.
Absolutely.
Could it happen?
Yes, it could happen. Can I just say what I want to see happen this year? Yeah. I wonder if it's the same thing that I want to happen. I want to see Lewis win the championship for Ferrari. I was about to say the same. It would just be amazing for the sport.
Yeah, don't believe it for a moment. I don't trust it or believe it for a moment. There's been a lot of talk around the internet about Lewis Hamilton's steering wheel, particularly this Muppet on Twitter. Seems to think that Lewis Hamilton wanting to change his steering wheel configuration. He says, "I bet that's fucking tedious for the guys making the wheel." Really? Is it? Isn't F1 the sport that the cars are basically as adjustable as possible, as adaptable as possible? People weighed in on this ridiculous opinion. Apparently, you did not know that is literally part of their job. He went on to say, "One of the reasons I know how tedious it is because I'm in charge of manufacturing F1 wheels. Just because it's part of your job doesn't mean it's awesome." I'm having a moment where I don't even know how to reply to something like that. There's people saying these idiotic things. Of course, it's perhaps a challenge, to customize a steering wheel. But this is Formula One. It is supposed to be challenging. What that guy is saying is almost as if, why does Lewis have to even ask for such a ridiculous thing? He's trying to make it sound like how a lot of people try to make it sound, like, why are you giving these people more work than is necessary? No, drivers like different design and different interpretations of different things. Lewis likes his steering wheel to be a certain way. It is literally the team who's supposed to build a car in his image, to suit his driving style, to design the cockpit, his seating positions, to fit him, to design his steering wheel, to suit him, to best suit his muscle memories. Simple things like this. But some people will never get it. If they don't get it, they just won't get it. Lewis chilling on his balcony, that's not exactly Monaco, but he's chilling up there. Don't question the GOAT. Don't compare the GOAT either. Yes, this has been a huge topic of conversation. Max Verstappen as Lewis Hamilton's replacement. A tweet from Pit Stop Fracas says, "I think every journalist in the paddock should be pressing Mercedes on why George Russell has not been given a contract extension. Right now, he is not on the grid for 2026. People post, Toto has a dream." Toto does have a dream. But honestly, if Max does become available, I think Aston Martin is the clear candidate. If somehow Toto can fire George Russell and bring in Max, perfect. But I don't think it's that simple. I don't think they're going to get rid of George. Call me crazy, but I don't think they're going to get rid of George, even for Max Verstappen. Because that company is not just run by Toto. There's other people involved. There's other investors. Now, if they all want Max, there's nothing George can do about it. But the way George has been performing, if they did let him go, it'd be difficult. I think most of what Toto was doing last season was mostly to annoy Christian Horner. It was mostly to stick it to Christian. It was mostly to rub salt in the wound as Christian was going through his sexual assault allegations. And he is guilty of that. We've all seen the messages. That's sexual harassment. Yeah, I don't know if I'd say sexual assault, but it's definitely sexual harassment. That's harassment. If that's not harassment, then we all need to read our employee handbook back to front to back, honestly. But hey, I want to know from you, what do you think? Do you think Lewis can really outqualify Charles in the first race? I think that would send a lot of shockwaves, but I think if there's a race he could outqualify Charles, it's the race where he's known to be good at. He's the tracks where he's known to be good at. Another thing before we end out this video, mini DRS and 2 technical directives Ferrari McLaren prepare. During Bahrain testing, the topic of mini DRS, a trick linked to the aero flexibility of the rear wing, return. Red Bull technical director Pierre Wash told his observations to the race, I think Ferrari and McLaren will continue to use the mini DRS effect. As we told you exclusively, the FIA updated their flexi ring rules ahead of the 2025 season. Stricter tests will be in place to monitor flex in the front wing, starting in Spain. However, the FIA new measure of rear wing flexing will be implemented immediately in Australia. You see how funny F1 is? So for the rear wing flexing, immediately from Australia, that's when it gets implemented. For the front wing flexing, it will be sometime around Spain. Now, here's a strange thing. They already test these wings. You know, they tested that McLaren wing. It was completely fine. It was within the realms of legality. Nevertheless, they still told McLaren to stop doing what they were doing. McLaren had to follow. So it seems strange to me that they're going to make it even stricter to monitor these things, to detect these things. Why didn't you just do that from before? It's not like the FIA is blind, or unless they're blind whenever Max and Red Bull does anything wrong. That's when they're blind. To the people that are paying them, of course. Yeah, they're bloody blind to the people that are paying them. You know, I'll always say, if the FIA is on your team, if they're on your side, it is because you're paying them well enough. So following further analysis conducted by FIA single-seater department following the conclusion of 24 season, we're committed to ensuring that bodywork flexibility is no longer a point of contention for the 2025 season. As part of this effort, we will increase the scope of rear wing flexing or testing from the start of the 2025 season. The FIA is mainly focused on controlling the space created between the main plane and the DRS, even in the external part where the horizontal element connects to the lateral bulkhead, the so-called rear wing tip. According to Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren wings tend to open this slot gap with an increase in efficiency of the rear wing at high speeds. I see all the cars are behaving a little bit funny at high speeds, front wing and rear wing. The Mercedes rear wing is dipping at high speeds. The Red Bull front wing is dipping at high speeds. They're all doing some form of flexing. Red Bull is really saying what Red Bull is complaining about, Red Bull is also doing. They're also doing. But you know how Red Bull are. The biggest part of the competition is Red Bull loves to complain. They complain, and when they complain, Ferrari has to deal with those complaints. Now, I wish more teams would do the same to them. Every single race weekend, find something about Red Bull to complain to the FIA about. So Red Bull has to dedicate time and effort to mediating with the FIA on those issues, because that's what Red Bull does to other teams, to distract them. They did it a lot to Mercedes, especially in 21. They've done it a lot to Ferrari and a lot to McLaren. And what we often see is that Red Bull gets away with a lot of stuff. I mean, they were cheating last year. They broke the cost cap. They have done so much and they've gotten away with so much. Even a blind person could see that Red Bull is gaining favoritism through the FIA because they're paying the right people, and they've also put the right people in place, in power at the FIA. Really and truly, this sport is fucked because the FIA is so fucking corrupted. Your governing body is incredibly corruptive. Your governing body is subject to public sponsorships. Now, public sponsorships really means that I pay you, I support you in your role and your efforts within the FIA, and in return, we're friends. If I have a problem, I can count on you. That's what's really going on. Something else that I will talk about in another video is the FIA president. The FIA president. I think this is what I'll make my next video about. Some stuff going on. Have you ever wondered how this guy got his job? How did he get his job? How did he get his job? It's very interesting, isn't it? How did this guy get his job? And another question, why does he still have his job? We all know the reason why. He's sponsoring the right people within the FIA. If you sponsor the sport, you sponsor the governing body, you can fucking control it. Him and his investors who have a common interest in this sport and the benefits that it might offer to their hidden agenda, I will say. But we're going to end this video here. We've got some other stuff to talk about in another video. So thank you for watching, subscribing once again. Thank you all for 1,000+ subscribers, and I will see you in our next video. Peace.